So now I'm starting the invoice process. Well, the vacuum pump is on. The vacuum pump does its thing for a while. It's time to do invoice. One of the things I need is refrigerant quantity. And for refrigerant quantity, I'm pretty sure before this vehicle came apart, there was a sticker here and I took a picture of it and I can't find it, but let's pretend I have no sticker to go by. So let's pull up the Max app, and I have no way of knowing how much refrigerant's in this vehicle. So here's the Max app. So I open up the Max app. I think this is in too dark of an area. I don't have my flashlight and I don't have 3 hands, but normally I just hit scan and you go to scan like this, and yeah, it's not scanning. This is the phone that has the messed up camera and it's too dark. Let's see if it'll scan like that. Come on, scan. No, with this messed up camera one, it won't work. So we'll go back to manual mode. So it would scan the VIN and give you all the air conditioning information that you need. So we'll just get out of this. We'll go to vehicle 2018. So we'll go to 2018. We'll go to Audi. And what model is this? This is S5. Put that back in there. So this is a model S5. So let's go down to S5 Quattro or Sportsback. I think this is the Sportsback. And S5, it doesn't say anything else, but this looks like I think a Sportsback. So Sportsback, Premium Plus. Oh God, I hate this. So this is where you try to look for a package on here and it doesn't say anything. Now, in this case, when you don't know exactly which vehicle it is, you can pick every vehicle and just keep going back and making sure the refrigerant quantity is the same. So you have that, no options on engine. And let's go down to cooling specifications, AC. You have an option of 2 different refrigerants on this year, make, model vehicle. YF, and it's a half kilogram. And if it's R134, it's 0.6. So you go back again, and go back one more time, and go back again. Now let's go to Premium Plus. Let's see if there's a difference. So if you don't know which vehicle you have, don't just guess. 0.5, 0.6, exactly the same. So you know with those 2 vehicles, you can't go wrong. Let's go to Prestige. If there's anything with the Prestige that's different. So cooling specifications, air conditioning, exact same thing. So no matter what model I choose, it's always the same. And this one is YF. So I have 500 grams. I'll need 500 grams of YF refrigerant, and refrigerant capacity, type of refrigerant, a part number, oil, PEG, PAG. Here's the part number. Here's the OEM part number for the PAG, for the YF. And here's how many ounces of refrigerant oil for this vehicle. Whether it is R134 or YF refrigerant, they both have the exact same quantity of refrigerant oil that's needed. If it had a compressor clutch, this is clutchless, but if it had a compressor clutch, it even tells you what the gap should be, so you can make sure you have a proper gap and you could adjust the gap to whatever is needed. So that will do that. I know, oh, and I take a picture of that, and so I'll snap that, and what I need to do is I need to, there, I just took a, there. So now I have a copy of that I include with the invoice. What was that? And we get back to here, and let's say, let's choose our refrigerant. Come on. Okay, my thing's having an issue. There we go. Oh. Find R12. This takes a lot longer holding a phone, but as you see, I have part numbers in here and types, and if it has a price, so it's like, here's the refrigerant wire, $150 a pound. And so then you put in your poundage, whatever. I'll come back to that later. It's a little over a pound, so it'll be like $170 some, $180 in refrigerant. I'll come back to that. Then, come on. So I'll do the vacuum decay test. So here we'll have, you can take a look at what I have in here. Different kind of refrigerant oils. Vacuum decay test. Where's my vacuum decay test? Oh, there it is. It's hidden behind. God dang it. So that's a problem with. I usually do everything on my phone. I don't do it out of the iPad. Leak test, recharge. This is my vacuum decay test. I can't get it. If I disconnect, now here's a problem with the iPad and this software. This is QuickBooks. I want to get what's underneath the screen, but how do I get rid of the screen? I get rid of the screen. Touching anywhere else doesn't. Oh, there it goes. And now my menu's gone. So I bring my menu back, and unless I want to do this a million times. Okay, vacuum decay test. My vacuum decay test, and I'll write down, I'll take a picture of what my vacuum decay test is. That'll go on the invoice, proving it. I'll do a nitrogen decay test, and I'll take a picture of what my pressures are and the nitrogen decay test. And where's my nitrogen decay test? Pressure decay test, right there. High pressure nitrogen. Now on this one, when I'm on commercial jobs, I do that for 24 hours, and on my units at 600 psi. I don't do 600 psi, and I don't do 24 hours on a car. And so on this one I'll do 170 psi, and same for the vacuum decay test. I don't do it for 24 hours. That I do on my commercial equipment, not automotive. Automotive is just the black sheep of the family when it comes to air conditioning. And I always know I get under 500 microns. I'm approaching there now. I'm down to 640. And I'll just keep on going down this list. The oil. Come on. SP dash. Come on. Say SP task 10. I'll just put it there just so I could do this. And what else? You know, holding a phone and doing this at the same time in real time just doesn't work out very well. So I got my oil, I got my refrigerants, vacuum pressure decay test, trace dye. After putting in the refrigerant, I'll do a leak test. So that comes the leak test part. And I don't charge, when it's part of my system, that charge gets removed. That procedure gets done, but I'm not just doing a leak check. And that was an old price that's in there. Actually, my leak check price is $185. I haven't updated my prices. I always manually put it in. I had this software for a long time. I haven't updated it. So if I was only doing a leak test, it would be $185 as my minimum charge for a leak test. Then, let's say the recharge. Okay, so there's my, that was a very old price from a couple years ago that I didn't update. So I'll take that. 185. I just switched over software to a newer updated version. I haven't updated my stuff yet, so I have to do that. So that is done. Oh, and book time on recharge is 1.4. And RAG, our regulatory, EPA mandate, CO2 regular capacitor. What is that capacitor? Oh, that is, oh, that's a turbo 200. That's what that, oh, no, I don't want a turbo 200 in here. We are not doing, we're not doing a residential split system. So let's get over here, and RAG, our local government regulatory agency, our EPA, and our Bureau of Automotive Repair. There's a few mandates that we're required to record all the temperatures and pressures and stuff like that. So that gets put onto the list there. That's just a list of things that will be included in there, because in our local jurisdiction, in our country, because I know a lot of guys are watching from other countries, we have the EPA, we have the Bureau of Automotive Repair, which they actually named themselves something else. That was stupid. So we have a lot of things that have to be followed on there, that go on there. So right now, to do this, and that's not even the full price, $409 for doing this recharge right here with YF refrigerant. And actually that's going to be a little more expensive. That is, let's go back here. So, oh, here's another thing. Okay, so some guys, I use grams and everything. Some guys use poundage. In the United States, we use poundage. So all you guys here in the United States with our kind of public kind of education that ain't worth a shit, we use poundage. Overseas and the whole rest of the world use metric. So for our guys here, let's make this easy. This takes 500 grams. So Google is your friend. So instead of doing it longhand using math and not Google Maps, the other Google Chrome. So Google's your friend. Sand in compressor. 500 grams is how many pounds? Now, isn't that much better than writing it out longhand? 1.102. So over here in the refrigerant, there we go. 1.102. Okay, and that will, now we're up to $424. So that's that. This takes just a smidgen over 1 pound of refrigerant, 500 grams. So that's $165 in refrigerant. Labor here, $185 mechanical labor rate. Book time, 1.4 hours. That's $259 in labor. And that comes up to a total of $424. And this is a wholesale. I'm giving it to them, and then they take this, they mark it up at this shop, because I am a vendor to this shop. I am not the end person collecting the money from the insurance company, so they get to mark this up 20%. So my company that is hiring me to do the job for them will add 20% on top of this, and then that will be, and they'll do the tax and everything and collect the tax, and this gets marked up another 20% on top of that. So I will save this, and there goes the save. And so that will be, where are we at? $424. And then I'll put all my notes, all my pictures will go right here. All you do is choose, let's say choose from library. Say I already snapped a shot, so here's some pictures I have. And say we had a condenser was damaged and it had signs of leaks, and I can include this picture on my invoice, and that would go inside there. I will have a picture of the vacuum leak decay test. I will have a picture of the nitrogen leak decay test. The final resting pressures, temperatures, using the field piece software. I'll snap and capture the field piece software, and this will be included in the invoice for the final sales receipt. And a copy will go to the customer, and a copy gets saved on the premises of the shop in their shop records. So if the customer has any doubts or anything, you know, anything happens, or is there some questions or any further problems, everything was documented, and all the readings will be recorded live on the vehicle. I don't worry about leaks on this one because this is an OEM condenser, and this is an OEM condenser, and as you can see, this has a pressure switch on it. Now many times on the aftermarket they won't have a pressure switch, and the technicians will forget there's an O-ring that should be in here. There might not be an O-ring, and I'll get a leak right there, right at that switch. But because this was an OEM condenser, it came with that sensor, and I know it has a good seal. If it was an aftermarket condenser, I often get leaks right there. And I have no worries about the machining at these fittings on the aftermarket condenser. So this is OEM. So if you look down in here, let's see if I have a pointing device. Let me use this little screw. So if you see right here, it is machined, it's machined out, it's a barrel. But then they have a chamfer right here that just comes off at a little angle. It's not straight up, it has a little angle. Sometimes that little edge will be razor sharp on some of the aftermarket ones, or there'll be no chamfer or very little chamfer, and they'll damage the new O-ring from the line. When they go to put it in there on an aftermarket condenser, it'll actually cut the O-ring. Or another problem is that this machining, this hole, will be 1, 2, 3 thousandths larger, 4 thousandths larger, and when you put in the O-ring, it'll just barely touch, and it'll seal a little bit. It'll seal at low pressures while the car is in the shop and you have low pressures. The pressure is not enough to overcome that larger gap and pass the O-ring, so it'll seal when you're testing it in the shop. But then the customer takes the car, goes out, it's a hot day, 80, 90 degrees, the pressure goes up to 200, 250, 300 PSI, and because they have a cheap aftermarket condenser, one that isn't of good quality where they maintain their clearances, then the refrigerant will bypass the O-ring and leak later on. This is a big problem with aftermarket condensers, some aftermarket low quality condensers. So on this one I don't worry at all. I mean, I can kick myself in the butt and kind of like skip the nitrogen pressure decay test, but I won't. I'll still do it. Which I should have done before when I started this video, because I'm talking on the video, I got my procedures mixed up before I did the vacuum, so I just wasted time because I'm doing a video and not paying attention. So let me put the phone down and get my act together, and there'll be another video after this, but you can see how this rings out.